Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Aquarian Mind podcast. Today's podcast, episode number 183. I'm your host, Jamel Crothers. It's Book Insight Friday. And guess what? I'm finally talking about a book again. Isn't that so exciting? I know. You guys have been waiting and you guys have been like, all right, well, when is Jamel going to start talking about books again? He's published so many. Let's get back to that. Okay, I am. For the next 6 weeks, I'm talking about the Man's Plight series and a myriad of different men's social issues that affect us in today's society, will affect men. I'm a man. But for women that are listening right now, no. But anyway, you guys get my drift. So discussing today, A Man's Plight Part 1. And I wanted to share how men are portrayed in the media and not always in a positive light. So I'm going to utilize, a little bit of kind of my story and kind of things that I've dealt with and been through and seen. As a black man in America, we're not portrayed in the media too well, to be brutally honest. There have been changes, but when you sit and look at culture with black people in America, there really aren't really too many positive shows that are family goal oriented. If you look at, black shows, they're drama. Look at all Tyler Perry shows, look at 50 Cent's, Curtis Jackson shows. They're not really family oriented. But anyway, neither here or there. Let's get into it. So the other day I was on TikTok and I follow a few people that, post content about, men and how they, go through struggles and things of that nature, from relationships to how they're portrayed, things of that nature. So there's a content creator that I follow. Her name is Sarah Dawn Moore, and she does amazing content on men and, how we really don't have a voice in a lot of situations, and all the things that we deal with and go through. And she does amazing things, and she's taking the time to really learn about us, who we are, what we're about, and her content is really on point. So anyway, video I was watching, which was pretty much 3 minutes long. It's pretty quick, but it was talking about the emasculation of men and how the media doesn't really shine us in a positive light. And she brings up, the whole Al Bundy situation, played by Ed O'Neill, back in the 1990s. So he was the shoe salesman who was depressed, who always had complaints about life, and he sold women's shoes, and, had a wife who was smarter than him, but she was, more of the uppity wife in Katie Segal. And then, the son and daughter played by David Faustino and Christina Applegate. Yes, I did watch Married with Children for a good amount of time, as a young child. I am an 80s baby. Do not get it twisted. I am 39 years old as you're listening to this. So I have watched a myriad of TV shows, and when I sit back and reflect, wasn't a positive lighted show. It was comedy, made people laugh, things of that nature, but wasn't something that made men be shown in a positive light. And basically, at the end of the day, she was really trying to get out the point of men being emasculated and men being portrayed as the buffoon father. That's basically what it's called. I got that from a book that I read, I would say about 2 years ago. It's called Brainwashed by Tom Burrell. And he goes really in depth into black culture and how we're portrayed, but that's not the goal of this podcast. Anyway, basically, if you sit and look at the breakdown of what most TV shows have been, I would say since about 2000, I would say in a nutshell, because pretty much after Cosby Show, Fresh Prince, A Different World, all of the positive Family Matters, the positive influenced father figures on TV shows, it became a reality TV show of Flavor Flav and Tiffany Takes Over New York and all of that other reality TV stuff, Jersey Shore, and then all of these shows started pretty much changing into emasculating men. And where I'm going with this is if you look at King of Queens, right? That was about 15 years ago, give or take, I would say. The main character was Kevin James, and his wife was Carrie, who's played by Leah Remini. And he was the overweight, fat husband who was pretty much a delivery package guy, and Carrie was a paralegal, right? So there's the wife is smarter than the husband kind of thing. There isn't an equal give or take, right? So then we look at The Simpsons, right? You look at Homer Simpson, overweight, fat father who's dumb, drinks beer, and gets himself into trouble all the time, and Marge has to be the woman of reason, the person of reason in a nutshell, right? She's smarter than Homer Simpson, right? And then we get into Family Guy. You look at Peter Griffin, right? And Lois, right? Lois is smarter than Peter. Peter is the fat, overweight father, right? You see that? So you see where I'm going with this, right? And that's the goal of A Man's Plight 1. It's basically from television to radio and print, along with Hollywood controlling the content narrative. You know, that is basically how we're looked at and portrayed, right? We're not really put in a positive light. And then if you go into other TV shows, it's just like, well, we're guys are gangsters, or they're in the hood and all that stuff. They're really, or they're in drama-filled shows like Tyler Perry, like Sisters and all that stuff, right? Guys are involved in women's drama on those TV shows. Trust me, I see the commercials for it. That's all I need to see to say, okay, all right, that's it. The Oval, things like that. It's like, it's entertaining, right? Power, people get caught up in those TV shows, right? And that's fine. That's your thing. That's your thing. Cool. Do it. Knock yourself out, right? I've never watched any of those shows. I just have seen the commercials, right? So the main character for this Man's Plight Part 1 is Dwight, and he is an actor. And I write this story from Dwight's perspective, as pretty much he's a person who's trying to change the narrative of how men are portrayed. And there's plenty of subjects that are discussed, from emasculation of men to how fathers on sitcoms or on TV shows are buffoons, like I just said. And there's pretty much so much that pretty much goes into this book. And along with the subject matter and depictions of men, I delve into Dwight's story and how he is struggling as an actor, and how there are roles that actors have to take to advance their careers, and how Dwight chooses not to go down that road, and how he's ostracized for it. And the perfect example of that is men wearing dresses. And there's a deeper lineage of that goes into it. But if you sit and look at Hollywood, or Hollyweird, whatever you want to call it, you look at how many men have worn dresses in Hollywood. Brad Pitt, George Clooney, Jamie Foxx, Martin Lawrence, Dave Chappelle, Kevin Hart. Do you see where I'm going with this? Marlon Wayans, Shawn Wayans. The list goes on and on and on and on, right? And there was a need to expose Hollywood, and I definitely pretty much came with it from the get-go. And I felt like writing this storyline will pretty much allow this series to grow and allow the subject matter to flow. And pretty much there will be an understanding of how social issues plague men in today's society. And it took some time to develop the story and how I would write it, but I feel that I did men justice with how I wrote this. And while I know it's not possible to delve into everything men face, I'm always thankful for the ability to share our battles and struggles. And, it's a lot that goes into how I write my stories and why I write them. And it's about putting, content out there where it's going to bring conversations and discussion. I've always said that, and I always will continue to say that. It's how are we changing the landscape of how, this world is? How are we changing the way things are? I already know the realities of, who controls the money, who runs Hollyweird and all of that, right? I get it, I understand it. But how are we not utilizing them and creating our own content collectively as a unit to, get content out there, right? We have all these platforms, to utilize, and it's there for the taking. And that's the goal of writing a story like A Man's Plight Part 1, is to really like get people away from, the constant repetitive things of, how we're portrayed, right? I mean, you've watched Martin Lawrence, he's a comedic genius, don't get me wrong, but to do Big Mama's House 1, 2, and 3, and then to watch Tyler Perry wear a dress for all these Medea movies and stuff like that. And while it's great and while it's funny, and I watched the movies. I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't, but I was young and naive and not understanding of what's going on and the realities of how, we as men are looked at and portrayed. We're the buffoon father, or the person wearing the dress, or the person who's dumb, or the action hero, or anything like that, right? You look at how many action heroes have you had over the years: Jean-Claude Van Damme, Jet Li, Arnold Schwarzenegger. I can run down a whole list: Val Kilmer, Pierce Brosnan, who else? David Craig. The list goes on and on and on, basically, in a nutshell. So that's your three main people. You're funny, you're in a dress, you're an action hero. Like, it's the same things, right? And my goal is to, write a story that will open people's eyes to the realities of it and what's really going on. So that's pretty much how I went into that. And in all honesty, it's time the world sees and understands what's being done to us mentally, spiritually, and hopefully I accomplished that through starting, part 1 with this. So just to give you the heads up, Man's Plight 1 is available Barnes & Nobles, Apple, Kobo, Scribe, Overdrive, Biblioteca, so many different bookstores. Not on Amazon. Already addressed what's going on with that and why I took my books off that platform. And there's more issues going on with Amazon as I'm recording this. Won't go into that, neither here or there, but let's just say my Twitter feed shows itself on a daily basis with that. Paperbacks are available on the Book Patch, and you guys will be able to find it there. I'll make sure I post the links pretty much in the description so you guys can pretty much have access to that. And with that said, that is my podcast for today. I thank you guys for listening as always. Have a good weekend. Be good, everyone, and go accomplish your goals.